You guys are getting Philly on me now, is that it?
I told everybody to tell you here. Let's
I told you, the 1 o'clock session is usually trouble. Okay. My name is Peter, I'm a recovered alcoholic. Okay. Having completed our 4th step, and each time through the work, more will be revealed. Each time through the work, sometimes things from the past have shown up. I don't deny the Spirit as the pen's moving. I don't censor it. I don't tweak it. I showed up to step 3 to be transformed, not programmed. And so this is part of the transforming of me from the inside out. Which means things are going to be revealed to me that I never saw, that I've been in the dark. I need to put them on paper to take a look at my grosser handicaps, the things pretty much in layman's terms that have made me tick. I see through the mind, I speak through the mind, I hear through the mind. It is my filter. And it is damaged. I'm fear-based, insecure, with an overblown ego, and this thing has to get remedied. And only through God's touch will it be, in His way, in His terms. And my job is to plow the field and let God do the growing, chop wood and carry water. Because the way I've been going through life is, lock and load, and just waiting for the world to get me, and quickly pointing fingers at why I have this difficult challenge and why these things are happening to me. And then God is offered to me, AA is offered to me. While we're in recovery, the Big Book is offered to us, and we waver. And we cannot waver anymore. There's a book that says that, the mind when it's wavering is like the ocean getting pushed around by the wind. It just keeps going this way. I need to do a lot less talking and a lot more listening and taking action with the information that's given to me. And I take a look at 4 and 5, and there's a little tip-off as to 4 and 5. Although one is writing and one is discussion, it is in a sense the same movement. They're split. It says, having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We're trying to get a new attitude, meaning the one I currently have has to be changed. About what? God. And a new relationship. With who? God. Because the one I currently have, or the one I have had, perhaps needs some work. I need to be more passionate about God. I need to be more trusting to God. I need to have a God. And I don't have to look very far. It says, may you find Him now, exclamation, in our Big Book. But it doesn't mean we, have to, map quest God and go searching. I'm not going to find God there. I'm not going to find God there. The kingdom of heaven is not there. It's always within. Which is the last place I'm going to look, is within. But what the book drives us is to within. By letting us see that whatever out there is never, ever will be the solution to what ails me. But why should I look in? In fact, it's a lot easier for me with being hypersensitive and a full-blown ego as we come in here to blame you and point fingers, then God forbid me take the blame, me take the hit, find out where I'm at fault. Not my part, by the way. Just going to step 4 for a minute. A lot of folks say, well, what's my part? My part means you had a part too. And our book says we're going to disregard the other person involved entirely. No matter what they did. Think about that. Welcome to the NFL. No matter what they did. They just raised the bar way up here. No matter what they did, we're disregarding their behavior entirely. Where was I at fault? So they're holding up a mirror right here, and I can't look this way anymore. What's the price of freedom? There it is. Rubber hit the road. And when I get done with this process, we're going to go sit with someone in 5. It says we've admitted certain defects. We've ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. We put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. They're about to be cast out. Like old garbage. We're not going to work on our defects. We're not going to deal with our defects because they'll deal with us a lot quicker. I'm not going to embrace my defects. I heard this at a meeting one time. I'm going to embrace my defects. They're part of who I am. How's that working out for you? Anger is the dubious luxury of normal men. Anger insists that I'm right and you're wrong. It's a roadblock into healing and getting along with others. And some of us will justify our anger. Some of us will have very strange solutions to this. And I kid you not, at a meeting I heard a woman say, when anger comes upon me, I count to 10 and the anger's gone. I asked her to sponsor me. What a great way to go. That's all you have to do, count to 10 and it's gone. I count to 10, I'm twice as angry. In fact, the idea of having to count to 10 pisses me off. Oops. One of the most frightening or perhaps saddest things is being unaware of probably the most dangerous defect. And that one is that I somehow can work on my defects. That I have some sort of power to outsmart my defects. I will willpower it. I will throw everything I have at it. And the unknowing of that is futile. I'm working on my defects. And folks mean well. I hear what they're saying. They're trying to get better. I gotta hook into that. There's a willingness to get better. But it's a futile exercise. God could and would if he was sought. That's throughout my life. No human power, that's me, can relieve me of my alcoholism. My isms are now my defects. So I go into step 5. And it says on the bottom of page 72, a very clear-cut warning that if I skip this vital step, vital, life-giving, I may not overcome drinking. In short, the book is saying, don't do this, you're getting drunk. Oh boy, okay. Chop wood, carry water, keep moving. I've tried to keep facts about my life to myself. That's what my book says. And step 5 is about to bring these into the light. And for those of us who've been around a while, how does this meet us where we currently are? Because I'm around a little while, am I trying to keep certain facts about my life to myself? Or am I accountable to a sponsor? It doesn't have to be a network, but someone in AA who's walking this path where I can say, listen, I screwed up. Or I'm not doing so well. Sponsor, I've been telling you everything's great. It isn't. I come clean. Okay, good. So what's interesting is sometimes new folks are more honest than those of us who've been around a while. Because some of those new folks, not all, are so busted up, they just, here's where I'm at. And then we get the wrinkles out of our belly and we get a little rep in AA. Oh, that's Joe. He's got 20 years. That's Mary. She's taken all these commitments. You hear that, now you can't share with anyone. It might damage that reputation. A reputation, by the way, I've created for myself. And so I start to keep certain facts about my life to me, claiming I have a sponsor who knows everything. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a liar. And if I'm lying in one area of my life, I am a liar. If I'm dishonest in one area of my life, I am dishonest. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell or got drunk. We think the reason is they never completed their house cleaning. And we're in step 5. So what I have found out is step 5 is part of the house cleaning process. One part in 4 is the writing. Step 5 is the discussion. It's part of the house cleaning process. We have 4 and 5, we have 6 and 7, we have 8 and 9, we have 10 and 11. See how that works? Bill split them up because he knew we would find a loophole somewhere. So we split them up so we can be abundantly clear to me, the genius, who would cause a traffic jam when I'm the only guy on the road. Right? So that's what we do. So we sit down, and I remember the first time, and I remember the most recent time, I sat in with my work to go sit with my sponsor, and each time it was very uncomfortable, and I didn't even get there yet. I have an appointment with my sponsor. Let's pretend today at 3 to do my 5th step. And it's 1:30 now, and I'm getting depressed. Because I'm going to be there for a couple of hours, and I got to share stuff, and he's going to rip it apart, and I don't want to know about this, and can he be sick or leave town? You know, this stuff, all the dance, I call it the dance. The dance starts. The illnesses starts the dance. Just read the first few pages. The dance. I'm uncomfortable. That is wonderful that I'm uncomfortable. It's a force feeding of humility. It says we only thought we lost our egoism in fear. We only thought we were using the word humility until we don't experience any of that, any kind of humility, I should say, until we told someone else our whole life story. They're saying, off you go. It's a force feeding of humility. It's making us right-sized. And it's at some point, the ego is getting crushed. And perhaps the ego will be out of the room for a little while. It'll return. But there is an opening. And it is bright light, which we get to step into. Unfortunately, a lot of us are brought into light and push it back again. But here we are. And this really, the 12 and 12 says the 6 and 7 separates the men from the boys. My experience has been, all of this does, but especially for me, I'm going to sit with Tom, and I'm going to Tom's house to do a 5th step. It's a force-feeding humility. This separates the men from boys. Am I really willing to go sit here, and there's another man's going to know about my sexual stuff, my conduct? Ouch. My resentments, my fears. He's about to get it all. Talk about separating the men from the boys. Here it is for me. It's always been that way for me. But it makes you right-sized going in. Because I can be very wealthy and have lots of stuff, but I can't buy my way there. In fact, the more broken I am, it's easy to fit through the eye of a needle, quite frankly. No other way. And so off we go. I got to the point where I realized God knows how afraid I am because He's the one who made me. He's the one who made us. So He knows, okay, one of my kids is getting nervous again. I will ignite the fire just to get him in there. And then the sponsor, what a huge responsibility. The sponsor now knows that because they are the same way when they go sit with their sponsor. The sponsor knows she's nervous coming in, he's nervous coming in. Let me make this Zen-like. Let me make this wellness. Let me make this feel free enough for him or her to share with me. It's a very intimate process we have here. It's not a therapist office who are getting paid $1.50 to do this. It's not a treatment center who wants money or you can't come to me or good insurance policy. Okay. It's not the in-laws who are going to tell everyone as soon as you leave. This is one drunk talking to another about it all, knowing it's going to stay right there. We don't, here's a great thing. We don't sign any kind of pledge in here. We don't sign a contract that the AA police will come get you. You won't be fined or penalized by some AA uppity-ups. How do you say that? That's easy for you to say. For keeping this stuff confidential. It's what we do. Which is completely remarkable because if you're anything like me, I was the most dishonest, not trustworthy person. I wouldn't say in the whole world because there's people worse than me, but I was not that guy who can keep something in confidence, yet we do it. Just an understanding. My sobriety depends on helping this person and my relationship with God. And that's what we do. And so off we go. So what I do with guys and what my sponsor does with me, we make prayer. We read out of our big book, a notepad and pen, because Spirit will move me as Spirit will move them to share. And I may perhaps take notes while you're reading, little defects that keep popping up, little things I may have to ask, considerations as you're going through. It's a journey. And as I'm writing down some defects you keep sharing, when you were 10, here you are maybe 35 years old, 20 pages, 30 pages into the inventory, and I look down on this notepad and I say, hey Joe, when you were 10, you had this stuff going on. We're now 35 and we got the same stuff going on with different people. You see a pattern here. Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it possible? Lots of considerations. Get to see firsthand how I've been living with a case of mistaken identity. My whole life has been a lie. And as I'm reading, by the way, first column, resentment joke, cause, effects, where I'm at fault. That's what I do. I tell them no elaboration. Because you know how we are when we get inventory. Let me explain what happened here. And we go off book. Anyone knows about acting? Off book means you ad-lib. In the script, you want them on book, read what's there. And that's what I tell them, as it's told to me. Just stay with what the book, because that's what God gave you. And someone's reading to me, or we hear ourselves reading first column, second column, third column, fourth column, over and over and over again. We start to see that the first three columns have been based on my perceptions and conceptions about everything. False ones. The same thing with my perceptions and conceptions about what this God is. Does it exist? Does it not exist? Who is it? How does it operate? What's my ideas about love, compassion, understanding, hate, etc.? Same thing with this work. Based on my delusion and illusions about life, Joe got me angry because he did something. I have these unrealistic expectations of people. And then I hit column 4. And as I'm reading, where was I selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened over and over again, I get to touch the first reality, because this is what I've done. That's tangible. And perhaps if I was treated instead of untreated, my perceptions and conceptions would be real, not lies. Which means I'm not upset with you for doing the same thing you did 10 years ago. Does that make sense? What you did to me 10 years ago when I was sound asleep, I'm gunning for you. You did this, so it affects all these areas in me, and now what do? My selfish behavior, my demand to be right, my anger, my gossiping justified, my dishonesty, I will fix this, I will get back to them, back at them. My frightened what people are going to think of me because of what he did. It goes on and on and on. Now I'm spiritually fit. And I see that person and their behavior completely different. So column 4 for me has been my reaction to a lie. I'm living a lie. Hypersensitive, fear-based, insecure, ego the size of this room. I expect to navigate through life very peacefully and joyfully that way. No wonder why I have a truckload of resentment, constantly in a place of experiencing resentment with everything. For me, it was to the point of hate. And I get to share that in 5. It says I must be entirely honest with somebody if I expect to live long and happily in this world. God's going to determine the length of my life, but do I want to experience being joyous, happy, and free after having suffering for so long? Well, yeah. But not on my terms, because I don't even know what joyous, happy, and free looks like. Joyous, happy, and free is based on my perceptions of what that's supposed to look like. This is not my business. For I know joyous, happy, and free might be God sends you to a monastery, sends me to a monastery, where they're not allowed hair gel, so that'd be maybe a problem. God may move me out of state. I don't know. I have found this. There's something that you cannot describe in words adequately enough to experience the contentment, the peace, the joy when we are in line with God's will and doing His work. I can describe what it's like being out of line with God's will and doing what I want. That's called pain, misery, suffering, having to make amends, tossing and turning, trying to remember a story, stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, eating disorders, sexual behavior that's not spiritual. It goes on and on and on. That's what I do, what I want. But words cannot describe being in line with God's will and doing what He has for us. On awakening, okay, God, where are we going? What do you got? I'm reporting to work. So we sit in step 5 and we discuss this, and I take notes. And I take notes as my sponsor take notes, and they're considerations for me for when I get to 6 and 7. It says, we pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. We stop there. Now we go in and do the 5th step. This is all the reading and the directions to get there. Now we go in. And we're in there as long as we are. I know some folks who do these marathon 5th steps, 15 hours, 12 hours. I have about 2 to 4 hours and I have to stop. And we will come back and visit again. That's for me to be fair to you, to hear you. After 4 hours, I can't hear anymore. And I don't want to start wandering because it says you're in a life and death errand. God's entrust me with your life. I need to be on board. I need to be alert. So 4 hours is about my max, and then we pick it up again. So we go in, illuminating every twisted character, every dark cranny of the past. When we finish, it says, once having taken this step, now we're on the back end of the 5th step. Some 5th step promises. It says, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. What happened to the life driven by 100 forms of fear? It says they're starting to fall from us. We're shedding it like skin. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs. Now we begin to have a spiritual experience. This is tangible. We can feel this. Because what it then says is we feel we're on the broad highway walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. We can feel this God now. This God that was out there, these beliefs we had about God, suddenly has become very tangible. Now these 5th step promises may not materialize as soon as I'm done with my 5th step. That's been my experience. 6 and 7, something might, here I am, standing in the sunlight of the Spirit. That's happened to me. They will happen. God will determine how much He's going to feed you and when. Remember, I turned everything over to Him. So it's not up to me to say, hey, God, I finished my 5th step. Electrify me, babe. Let's go. Not yet. Keep plowing the field. At harvest time, I will discard all the weeds. Not to worry. Build with me and do with me as you want. You do whatever you want with my life. Right here. Well, Joe in my home group is talking about the 5th step promises all week long. I finished the 5th step a month ago and I'm in 6 and 7, 8, 9. Where is it? God has been patient with me. Can I be patient with Him? The first time I experienced some of this stuff, I was into 6 and 7, had an amends list, and was just started to make amends. And I was going to a group in Brooklyn, the Bath Beach group in Brooklyn. Friday night, step meeting, and a beginner's meeting and a step meeting. And it was in an old school building. It was going up the steps, and bang. Inexplicable what happened to me. And I won't even attempt to share it because you can't. But everything got light, everything got bright, everything got nice, everything got warm. The God I felt within. Oh my God, this is the greatest meeting in AA. This is the most beautiful building. I'm in an AA meeting. These gray, ugly metal steps are just wonderful. I'm okay. I'm clean. These people, I love these members of this group. That crusty old guy, the best. Get it? I don't know what was going on with me. How could I experience God for the first time? It's foreign. But God revealed Himself to me. That's not a private club in AA who gets that. That's open to all. Inclusive, not exclusive. So, when we're done with the 5th step, we're supposed to go home for an hour. just an hour. It's the only time in a book. It gives us a time to do some work, 1 hour. And that doesn't mean I have Pandora on with headphones and I'm listening to AC/DC for the hour. That doesn't mean I'm watching Sports Center and cooking and taking care of the kids and got headphones on and I'm texting and online at the same time. I got to tell Facebook, everyone on Facebook, I just finished my crib set. Because I'm humble. 1 hour where we can be, it says, returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. Quiet for an hour. There's a sacred time. So quiet for an hour means I go hunker down somewhere. It says a prayer. Thank God from the bottom of my heart that I know Him better. Then it asks me some questions. And over and over again, Bill's asking the same question in different ways. He's pretty much asking, is everything in place? Have you been clear? Have you been thorough? Have you tried to sneak something through the archway? And if you have, just call up the sponsor and say, I wasn't entirely honest. I left something out. Perhaps when you get back during that hour of prayer and like to meditate and read the first 5 proposals and reflect on what I've done, something may come to me. Call the sponsor, I just thought of something. No right, no wrong, no up and down, it just is. We keep moving. 6 and 7 is about defects, a willingness to surrender everything, and the prayer. In the 7-step prayer. There's some defects I've touched in 5. Little spiritual assignment is to put them on paper and maybe write down the opposite of those defects. Something you get a visual on. Little spiritual tool. Dishonest, honest. Self-centered, God-centered. Hate, love. And I could surrender those to God. Just a spiritual tool. The point is, I'm willing to take a look at my life after 5 is over, what's left, the rubble that's left over. Because a lot of that stuff is going to be, we're going to release it, willingly release it. And there's some things in there that we may not want to release, but certainly it's the rubble after the war. This is my life. These defects of character are things that allowed me to become what I've become. This is where it takes me. This is where my lust takes me. This is where my greed takes me. This is where my ego takes me. My selfish and self-seeking, self-centered ways. This is where it takes me. Me being hypersensitive. My entitlement, whatever it might be. My demand to be right. They are all driven by fear. Every defect, the same way the inventory in the 4th step, is all driven by fear. That's been my experience. There's not one defect that the catalyst hasn't been fear. It sets in motion trains of circumstances. The fabric of my existence is shot through with it. It is fear. In fact, if you threw all my inventory over the years together into a funnel, volumes of information, one word pops out. F-E-A-R. Done. I need to explore all those different categories to get an understanding of where I stand and what makes me tick and who I've harmed, by the way, along the path. The exact nature of my defects, it says. Not a general idea. Am I willing to have God take all of these? Am I willing to release what's ever left here? 6 and 7. If I don't surrender the defects in 6 to God and have God deal with this stuff will deal with me and will draw you right into the mess. I will be called, and I am now an untreated alcoholic while I'm sober. And defects have found beget new defects. Beget new defects. And I'm a walking like side effect. I mean, that's how I'm going through life. I'm in trouble. The ego has reconstructed. So therefore, it justifies me not calling a sponsor or even having a sponsor. I know a lot of folks who do a lot of workshops, big book workshops, who don't have a sponsor, but are telling you to get a sponsor and how to do the work. I know a lot of folks who do this who think amends is below them. I know a gentleman who said to a group, this is how the Lord's Prayer should be said, and change the words in it. Perhaps I need a sponsor. My sponsor is equally important right here as it was on day one, because the ego can start to flourish a little bit, stretch out a little bit. Well, we got the 5th done. I'm part of AA now, which a lot of us feel, and I prayed about the defects. Let me get back to business as usual. And a surefire way to put out, take the breath out of the defect is what's about to follow, and that's 9. Page 76 says, if I can answer those questions to my satisfaction, the ones we just read on 75, I look at step 6. Didn't say take it yet. We're looking at it. A couple of questions. Am I now ready to let God, not me, God, remove the things which I have admitted are objectionable? Can He now take them all, every one? This is something we can do in solitude. During that hour, just me and God. It doesn't say check with your sponsor yet. It's just me and God. I will check with my sponsor, but during that hour, it's me and the boss. Which, by the way, I've learned this. I have an altar at home. It's a sacred space for me and for Marion. It's a meditation mat with a cushion, an altar, little altar. I have my God, photos of my God, and the pictures we get, and my rosary beads, and all these things. I have some Eastern stuff off to the left. I have photos that are very near and dear to me, some very personal trinkets that you guys have given me. It's a very sacred place. I have the sage, I have the candles, I have my anointing oils. I have all of that stuff. And sometimes I will burn sage. Every so often I will clean the house with sage. Go through a whole thing with this. And anointing oil I use regularly. Sometimes I'll light candles. But I don't need that stuff to meet God. And I can burn all the sage I want. And I can anoint everything from here to Timbuktu. And I can light candles all over the place. When the sponsees come over and they're about to do a 5th step, make sure all the candles are on so they think you're Moses. Right? Right? I'm so spiritual, you're so lucky I'm your sponsor. And so it comes a point, I need to meet God. I'm going to meet God, whether it's right now, this morning after my prayer, or literally when He calls me home, alone, in the raw. And I can't take sage, I can't take candles, I can't take daily reflections, I can't take all of this stuff. It's just me and Him. Nothing can stand before my Creator. Am I worshiping my sage and candles in my 24-hour day, but more than Him, or her, whatever your God is? I'm clear about that. So I get this hour of quiet time, and I make prayer, I surrender. Step 6 and 7 are a first step for life. And when I'm clear with all this stuff, everything that has been revealed to me, I've been clear. There's nothing hidden, no agendas. I really want to be transformed, continue the transformation process. We do a 7-step prayer. And I just want to share this here. I don't know if it was the 3rd or 4th or 5th time to work. I've shared this from many podiums. It's important that I talk about this, how God works. I go home for the hour quiet time. And up until that point, I've heard and read Daily Dying for Successful Living. The sense of who I am doesn't come from mind, I thought it comes from spirit. The death of self. And here I am in this hour quiet time. I never experienced that stuff. And I make prayer, thank God for by my heart knowing better, and I review this work, I surrender, and I go into a meditation, which I've been doing ever since. Meditation during that hour. Let me sit. Father, reveal to me what I can't see. Let me see what I can't see and hear what I can't hear. The sacredness of silence. We go into darkness to see. We go into silence to hear. And so I'm sitting in this meditation, and what comes to me is, God save me from me. Sounds very simple. It was incredibly profound. It was my truth. Save me from me, because I will destroy me, not you. So I'm sitting in there and I'm feeling ill. It's incredible. Literally ill, flu-like ill. Achy, hurting, anxious. I'm sweating, like nervous perspiration on your forehead. And I'm upside down. The way I always describe this was as if I'd never been to AA, never opened up a big book, knew nothing about anything. Raw. And I felt like I was just melting on the inside. I can't breathe. I think I'm having an anxiety. I don't know what's going on. Here I am in this hour and everything's just crumbling. So what do? You call up your sponsor. And my sponsor, who was alive at the time, bless his heart, was Mark H. Mark, here's what's going on. And I give him the whole thing. I'm in 6 and 7 like you told me, and it's out. And he says, and I quote, "Sounds like you're having an experience." Click. That's a true story. And I wanted to kill him. But I trusted him so much that I said, there must be something to that line. He just did. Sounds like an experience. Click. So I go back. What I'm happy to report is we got out of that. The death of self, daily dying for successful living, the self must die, self-dethroned, all these different terms depending on what spiritual book you read. And we asked for that. The ground was fertile enough, whether it was the third, fourth, or fifth time, it was the third time through this work, the ground was fertile enough where God can shut down and dethrone the self as I knew it. It was the death of self. I felt like I was dying because I was experiencing the death of self before the literal physical death. That's when God calls us home. Because what came out of that, there was such a huge pruning of the tree on the back end of that night and the next day and the ensuing weeks and months to come. I had felt so incredibly light, porous. Everything made sense. When our book said hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe, I'm happy to report I know exactly what they're talking about. And trust me, I'm not more spiritual or more higher intellect than anyone in this room. I'm not more worldly than anyone in this room. But something happens when we plow the field and chop wood and carry water. It grows. Anything that's not planted by the Father will be uprooted and discarded. That which is planted by the Father will come to life. But not in my time. As He sees fit, because He's the farmer. So I can bear witness for many, and many of you can bear witness for many as well, about what this power does. And we look at 2 paragraphs, say, well, 2 paragraphs, man, they didn't know what they were doing. They skipped right over it. Probably not that important. Incredibly important. But if we want to read wordy books on defects of character, you go to Barnes & Nobles. There's 1 million of them. Yet we have 2 paragraphs, and we have what we have. Simple, but not easy. A price had to be paid. And that meant the destruction of self-centeredness. The destruction, the death of self before the physical death. And here it is, 6 and 7. And what I do is close up with my 7-step prayer. Which is very little to do with me. It has a whole lot to do about God and others. And there is the Amen. That body of work, the searching, the fact-finding, the seeking, the looking, the uncovering. For now, we rest here. Now we focus in on who we've heard. Let's go out there. And something happens when I'm out there fixing the damage I've done. Making amends, not apologies, but making amends. Somehow I go from what I know, again, my new world, my new experience with God, to another place of unknown. Another dimension of existence I'd never experienced before. And as I'm making amends, those defects, the air comes out of them again. There's something profoundly important and incredible that happens when I'm sitting down making amends with folks. Some of these folks that I've made amends with, I despised in my thoughts that I hated. And here I am sitting with them, making it right. And there is the clarity that comes with this is there's no other way to go through life but to sit with it. I got this. I need to fix this. I have to fix this. I've harmed someone. Well, you can't live in your own skin until it's been repaired. That's being awakened. And part of the spiritual journey, guys, is, I was just telling someone about this earlier. You know, it's not like I'm going to get there and I'm Moses. I've arrived. The enlightenment, the transformation is in that journey. In that scratching, the clawing, the making mistakes, seeking guidance, talking to a sponsor, making amends, writing the inventory, praying when you feel like no one's listening. That's the journey. Those are the light bulbs flashing of inspiration and passion and compassion. It happens right in there. The arrival is when he says, you're done here, now come home. That's when you really arrive. I don't think we're in a hurry for that. But when it does come, my grand sponsor met that gracefully. Because he did all the work he had to do here. He was clean to move on. Freedom from the bondages of self, that's how he met it. So that journey, especially for the youngins in here, you might hear someone who, 20 or 30 years, talking with profound words and great conviction. They're in the journey. That's where they're getting that from. They didn't find a spot on the map and said, this is utopia. Utopia is knocking on someone's door and saying, I need to make right the wrong I quit. That's it. Utopia is sitting with my children, doing homework with them instead of being drunk. Utopia is being able to do, this has been mine, when I was doing this work on a Saturday night, doing laundry and folding when they came out of the dryer, because I had clean clothes. They were mine that I bought. They're not hand-me-downs. I didn't borrow them. I had enough money to buy that shirt and those jeans, and I'm folding them now and putting them in the drawer because they're going to be clean tomorrow when I put them on. I have clean clothes. Utopia. No one's barging in this door who's not supposed to be here. I don't owe anyone money. No one's looking for me. I want folks to come over rather than, oh no, the phone's ringing, who is it? I'm not here. Right? Yeah, utopia. It's in the journey. So the 7-step prayer says, my Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. Now why does it say that? Because what I think is good for me might be bad. What I think is bad might be good. I don't know. My job is not to determine how much God chisels off the rock. My job is to just be chiseled. I want transformation. He will determine how much and when. And there's certain things I think I do well. This illness, by the way, will get you where you think you're doing good. A gentleman from Colorado told me a long time ago, this illness will get you where you think you're doing good. You see this, giving a talk? I do this a lot. And I'm so grateful, I cannot tell you, for Don, for Mark, for Joe, and a couple other folks who sat me down and said, you are in deep water. And they told me why and how important it was for me to stay true and accountable to a teacher or sponsor. Because the illness would love to get me right here. I shared earlier, lots of cats who do this, talk about this work, they don't have a sponsor. They're not accountable to anybody. I don't know the last time they made an amends or wrote an inventory. It's all memory. A couple of pearls and they come up here. Deep, deep water. The illness would love to get me right here. As soon as I'm looking for when's the next talk, rather than who's the drunk I'm going to work with. Oh, honey, I can't be there for the baby's christening. I got to speak at Tom's group tomorrow night. I know folks who do this. Members of the family are sick. I got to go speak. Sorry. AA comes first. No, be home. Stay home with your family. See, it'll get you where you think you're doing good. I make good money. I'm a good businessman. I know how to make money. I got a knack for making money. I'll turn anything into riches. It'll get you right there. And for me, it has shown me wherever I take credit for the good, the illness just blew a hole right inside of me. Bored right in there. I did a good job instead of giving credit to where it's due. I'll take the credit for the screw-ups. That I'm clear with. I pray that you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Then we ask for strength to go out from here to do God's bidding. Amen. I close that piece of work. So it's about being of maximum service to God and those around us. Strength to do His bidding. What am I about to do? His work. Repair. Forgive. Can I be forgiving? You know, when I come to you and ask for forgiveness, I ask you, now forgive me. Turn the page as if it didn't happen. When you come to me for forgiveness, I got a little leverage. Coming to me for forgiveness, I got you right where I want you. So tell me what you did wrong. And I'll come with that deep Moses voice and tell you about the errors of your ways. And maybe I'll forgive you. I'm certainly going to gossip about it when we're done. Right? Can I forgive? I go to God, I want to be forgiven right away. Can I forgive others? Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We read that, we say that every time at an AA meeting. Or, am I pointing out the speck in your eye while I got a beam in mine? How free do we want to be? How spiritual are we really? What's this walk really look like? When we pray, why am I praying? Well, I want to stay clean and sober. Okay. That's it? Why am I praying? What do my prayers sound like? What do they look like? You know, let's pretend I'm your spiritual advisor. I'm your sponsor. I would ask you, tell me about your prayers. What do they sound like? What are the words you're offering? What's the spirit in which you're praying? Is it one of the 10,000 things I need to do today? Or is it the most important event of my life today? My conscious contact with God, my constant contact with God, me offering everything, because this is the most important relationship I will ever have in my life, and I want to say thank you for even waking me up this morning. What does your prayers consist of? God, you send me where you're going to send me. I'm going. You say what you want to say through me. I'll say it. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I'm doing it. I'm ready. And I put on your armor and I'm going in. Because on my own, I will screw this whole thing up. I'm clear of that. I will ruin my day. I will probably offend others. I will have disease and discomfort. And the drunks you asked me to work with at the beginning are not going to be that important to me because I'm consumed with me again. So what are my prayers? Why am I praying? What's that look like? How much attention am I giving to God? And how much petition am I giving to God? Because He hears it all. How refreshing to go to the altar. I say the altar, your praying place. And say, God, I'm surrendering everything to you. And wherever you need me to go, whatever you need me to do, whatever you need me to work with, whatever it is, I'm going. I bleed willingly and joyfully for you. And off we go. You might say, just go to work today. Stay home with your wife and children tonight. Home run. You're going into a detox tonight. We're going to do the 12-step call tonight. You're going to work late tonight because there's a drunk at work. You're going to find out about 9 o'clock. You'll find out that Joe needs to go to AA. You're going to take him to a detox. That's where I'm sending you today. We're uprooting you, your family, my child. You're from Philadelphia. We're moving you cross country. We're going to set you up in Colorado. I'm going to give you a job, new career. You're going to get good school for your kids. A career you never even dreamed of doing, but that's where I'm sending you. And we go like, oh, hold on, there's got to be another God. God, you didn't hear what I said. Am I coming through out there? And we forget why. Stay sober and work with another alcoholic. God says, I need a beacon. I need a light in a part of town, a part of AA that is very dark, and you are going. Trust me, it's happened to me. Tom knows I've moved around. I don't plant my roots too deep anymore. But I need you to go to Colorado. I know you're from the Northeast. We'll send you to Colorado. I know you don't know that rhythm. There's cowboys and snow. We're going out there. I need a beacon. I need a light to the local AA, to your community, to your workplace. They need to see me in those areas, and there's no one I can call on to do that role but you. Now how much faith do we have in God? How am I doing now? Trust me, the first time I got pulled out of New York and got sent cross country, I was like, maybe he didn't read my screenplay. It's beautiful. I live happily ever after, and I don't leave Brooklyn, you know. And it's interesting when you get there and you get a sense of purpose and direction. It's like, thank God I would have still been there. And you never grow. Perhaps we want to go cross country. God says, no, you're not leaving, let's pretend, South Philly. I need you down here. You'll visit lots of places. I need your roots very deep here. This is where you need to be. I've learned that. I'm just not making it up. That's been my life. Now I live in Florida for 5 years. God has put me to work from the day I got off the plane. A lot of work. Not only what I get paid for living, but just a lot of work. And I was in Texas for a while, different spots of Texas. I was in Minnesota for a while. Yeehaw. No, it's a great place, Texas. I joke. I had a lot of fun down there. But it keeps moving me around. So, you know, people say, where you're from? I'm from the Northeast. I'm living in Florida currently because I don't know. But I'm clear about one thing. God will move you to do some work. And that was the agreement. June 23rd, 1980. Father, please take me from this. I don't want to die. Okay, come on. I'm going to fix you up and go help my kids. The way folks help me. So I get this 8-step list from my 4th step. That doesn't mean it's the whole list, because there's going to be things on that on the 8-step list that weren't necessarily in my 4th step. So the people I've harmed, a harms caused list. And I write down all these names or institutions that I need to go back to fix, to make right, to amend, to repair. And I can't do it without God. And I must consult the sponsor, because I can do more harm in trying to do good. You know, you don't want to go back and make amends for the amends you made. So I still do seek counsel. Here's a consideration. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, how many have, you don't have to raise your hand, just a consideration yourself, how many of us claim to have had a spiritual awakening as the result of the 12 steps, right? No, I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps. But those folks, how many outstanding amends do you currently have that you could be making without causing more harm that you haven't? You'll get to it. Not even searching for those folks, because if you're in the search to locate folks that you can't, okay, fine, that's the litmus test. But you're not even searching, not even getting to it. It's kind of there. I'll get to it. I'm feeling good. I've made a bunch of amends. I have 20 or 30 more to go. I'll get them. And it was a long time ago. And who wants to uncover all of that again? Are we doing that? Because if we're doing that, we have unfinished amends that we could be making without causing harm. And we're not even searching, have I really had a spiritual awakening? Or has it become a spiritual awakening on my terms and not what the big book says? And is it possible I'm experiencing disease and discomfort by the truckload? Problems in personal relationships, problems with the financial area, problems with the thinking mind, just problems, challenges, drama, controversy, and that's all in my head, by the way. That's a direct link to unfinished amends that I owe the universe that is still outstanding. I haven't paid my ticket yet. And it keeps mounting until I got a mountain high of problems. And I says, if I would have just paid the first ticket, all this would be gone. How am I doing? How clear am I if I'm still being, if my present is still being dictated by the past? The great thing about cleaning up the past, I've found in making amends, it releases the shackles that are around our wrists that keep us chained to the past. It just releases them. It doesn't make us better or worse. It just releases us from the past. But so many of us are walking around like we're on a chain gang. I'll get to it. How you doing? I'm okay. I'm hanging in there. Mark called me one morning around 5, 6 a.m. Money, how's it going? And I said, hanging in there. He read me the riot act at like 5, 6 in the morning. He says, like, dude, take it easy. I just woke up. I couldn't believe this. I says, I'm hanging in there. He says, you're hanging in there. You got the grace of God. You remember about the walks. And he went on and on and on because I said, I'm hanging in there. But I know what he meant. Why are we hanging in there? We all say, hey, I'm hanging in there. You're hanging in. I'm hanging in. I'm sober, goddammit. I'm Julia having free. How's it going? I'm doing good. Wonderful. How you doing? I got some struggles with this, but I got hope and there's light at the end of the tunnel. How you doing? I'm great. I can't get enough of this recovery. I'm hanging in there. I know why he did that. But many of us who, and I was one of them, who are not cleaning up the past in order to be present, we feel like we're hanging in there, grinding it out every day, waiting for that one meeting to electrify me. And I run to another meeting to get electrified. And I'm constantly dependent upon other things, and I got the glory of God right in front of me. What God is doing consistently is on a silver platter bringing me the meal of my choice. I'm starving to death. I'm thirsty. And God gives me my favorite meal and my favorite drink, non-alcoholic, on a platter. And I don't eat. And I leave hungry. And I blame other people. So I get this list and I prayed for the willingness to make amends. Because the willingness has come from God. My prayer is still a willingness to go to any lengths because I don't want it to come from me because it might not be provided. So I pray for the willingness to make amends. And in God's time, in God's way, because this timing is perfect, these people will show up, the appointments will be set up, sometimes an honest letter be written. Now we have social media, it's easy to get in touch with folks, we can take advantage of that. I hope I hear a lot of stories about this. Looking up people, you can locate people, to try to make a connection, outstanding amends perhaps. Sometimes you find a phone number and you call them, but we need to be real careful. We can get in touch with folks, their phone numbers, hey, remember me, can I get some time with you? And we get to make direct approaches to many of these folks. And I put their names on a sheet of paper and index cards, whatever works. Their name, contact information, with the harm I'm clear on. And I sit with them, not with a card, not with a piece of paper, but I sit with them and I go to them. Open, wide open. Sometimes I've said I'm in AA, very often I haven't. And I've always been told, be careful. I've never sat down, hey, I'm here to make amends, because if I don't make amends, I'm going to drink again. Well, that just took the passion and the sincerity out of me being with you. It's all about me again, isn't it? I'm here because I hurt you, I stole from you, I need to make this right. Because you got ripped off, and I don't like getting ripped off. No one should be ripped off. I ripped you off emotionally, I ripped you off with money, I ripped you off with things, I stripped you of your dignity. And I'm here to fix that. I ripped you off. I've ripped off everyone. I ripped off the universe. You got to make that right with the universe. But I need to be careful here because it says, except when to do so would injure them or others. So I can't call up Mary, who I haven't spoke to in 10 years. I dig up her number somewhere, someone knows her, and say, hi, remember me, and remember when we were dating and I did X, Y, and Z, when Mary is married with children now. Because a husband might say, well, who's that? And I have to repair something that may be unrepairable now. So I seek counsel. Or I can't go back to a company that I stole from with maybe some other folks and put their careers at risk because I need to go make amends and get a 9-step notch on my belt. This isn't about that. So I sit with the sponsor and say, listen, here's my list of amends. What do you think? Maybe we pray over it. Maybe he seeks his sponsor and says, what do you think? Because I'm stuck on a particular amends. That's happened with me. Guys that come to me and say, man, I have no experience. Let me call up my sponsor. And they get some feedback. This is very, very delicate here. It's not about just walking and say, hey, I'm here to make amends, because I might uproot lives, especially with relationships. Got to be really, really careful. I'm not saying not do it, but let's seek some counsel here. And I've learned I don't need to drag anyone through the mud. I don't need to give them all the minutiae of what happened here. They know what I did. She knows I wasn't a gentleman. She knows I took advantage. I don't need to remind her of that. Perhaps I shouldn't even be there. Maybe I need to make an indirect amends to women in general. Again, we seek counsel from a sponsor. And the same with the ladies too. In the relationships with men or the same sex. We step on toes. We're selfish and self-serving, right? "17 years, one amends took into sobriety. Praying for the willingness, praying for the willingness, praying for the willingness, send a letter, make a phone call, send a letter, make a phone call. This gentleman, they say, doesn't work here, we'll give him a message. He's on vacation, we left a message, he doesn't work here, he's on vacation, you get it? And then I just released it. Always praying for the willingness. I was marketing for a treatment center, and I'd go back to my alma mater, South Oaks Hospital. I harmed this one gentleman. He was a staff member there. And I leave New York, actually I think it was in Jersey, and head to Amityville, Long Island. So I'm anticipating a long drive, way out to Amityville, Long Island. And I leave extra early, and as you would guess, I got there in like 10 seconds. Boom. 80 the whole way. I'm in front of South Oaks Hospital like hours before my appointment. And the first thing my mind says, let's go to the diner, have a cup of coffee, we'll make some phone calls, we'll read the big book, whatever it is. And God says, no, go in now. And I'm like, I'm arguing with God. And so I grab my duffel bag and I reluctantly walk in, feeling like a total fool, walking in like 2 hours early for a visit with the intake coordinator or whatever the heck it was. Oh my God, I feel like such a fool. They probably think I have no life. I don't believe this. As I'm walking up to the door, who's walking out? This gentleman I've been searching for 17 years. He was just leaving. So if I would have listened to me, I would have never met him. And I said, we'll call him Joe. He's, Joe, it's me, Pete Marinelli. He's, hey, what's going on? And I shared with him, I've been sober 17 years. I've been looking for you. I owe you an amends. And I was able to make the approach and finish the amends. Approach and amends, 2 different movements. And he gave me a biggest hug. He was so happy I was sober, doing this, working in the business. And he was leaving and gave another embrace. It was closed. It was done. If he walked in here now, I wouldn't have to go, oh my God. Done. Okay, so I'm sober 27 years, so this would take, I'm going to say in the neighborhood of 23 years into sobriety. About. My first love, we were going to get married, and the parents loved me, and my dad loved her, and it was just one big happy Italian family. It was going to be beautiful. We were planning the names of our children and all this. And then alcoholism does what alcoholism does, and I broke her heart, and I hurt her family, and my family was really upset with me for what I did to this young lady who was a valedictorian at NYU, has worked about $80 cajillion nowadays, very successful life, and we got in touch through social media. I get this message, is this Peter Marinelli from Brooklyn? I recognize the name. I thought you were dead. I need to talk to you. So we spoke on the phone. She knows nothing about AA. And I was telling her where I had been. And she says, my whole family, you've been dead all these years. Because we don't see your family around. I said, everyone's moved on and stuff. And I said, it's really interesting call. I don't know where to even try to find you, but I owe you an amends. She didn't even know what amends meant. And I was very delicate about it, and I was clear about it. And she was like, oh, that was a long time ago. I just was hoping, you were okay. I really thought you were dead. My dad ran into you one time in Lower Manhattan, and you borrowed money off of him. And he says, Peter looked very sick. And I was. Okay. You make amends here, and this part of your life cleans up. You make amends for one particular reason, but there's another reason why. So I'm speaking to this person. I'm telling her about AA. Totally naive to this whole thing. And she says, oh boy, I'm married to one. And she's telling me her husband's escapades and all his drinking habits. And can you help him? I says, absolutely. I says, here's what I'm calling. This woman's clueless, doesn't know anything about it. So you can't even have one drink. I said, I can have one drink. I can't stop though. They do that. You mean you can't have one drink? Oh, absolutely I can. Just hide your wedding rings and your jewelry. So, I made an attempt to help her husband, and as you would guess, they had a huge fight over this. And she says, I can't fight with him over this. And we wished each other well, and like that. I said, look, if he wants AA, I'm here, and it was closed. 20-something years. But the timing was right. The power of amends. We go from what we know to the world of the unknown. Our book says this. We've been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence, which means I'm living in three. Driven by emotions, obsessions, and compulsions, now I'm in the God world, God consciousness. It says we've developed this vital sixth sense. We were born with five. We have this other sixth sense. I've always challenged this. The five are very tangible. The God, the sixth sense, you can't put that under an MRI. In an MRI. Is it possible we've had it since the day we were born, but we come into AA broken and we awaken and we find out we got this God intuitiveness that's just flourishing now. We're operating out of it. The world of the Spirit. We're going to take a break. Thanks.
My name is Bill. I'm an alcoholic. In case you guys